Welcome back to another episode of the Successful Driver podcast. Thank you all so much for spending a little bit of time with us. Really excited to be talking today to one of the salespeople in our Phoenix branch, Edin Kovac, here at Aero Phoenix. Edin, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about whatever we need to talk about.
Well, and I know you have a pretty unique story to how you've gotten to this point. Would love to just hear you kind of just tell it yourself. Just let you kind of have the floor to tell us your life story and how you got into the trucking industry and your career to this point.
So yeah, for me, early days, my country where I'm from, and the period that I was born, a few years before I was born, the war had started. So people refer to it as the breakup of Yugoslavia, Bosnian Civil War, Bosnian genocide, whatever you refer to it. But I was actually born like in the middle, the heat of the war. So I was born in December of 1993. And I was born in a small town called Fojnica. And the town that I'm actually from, we really had no tie to it. I have no family there. I have no real tie to it. We were basically just kind of like emigrating across the country, any place that was safe, because the main town, Sarajevo, the capital, is where we were from, was like under siege. So if you can imagine like San Francisco, where you have the hills kind of surrounding the city, basically in those hills were tanks, snipers, mortars, grenadiers, everything, every kind of like military person you can expect. And basically they had curfews on people. They were shelling the city every single day. So there was grenades, mortars, snipers going off every day. And really it was like normal to be shot at, to be, tank to go off, anything, these kinds of crazy things. And it didn't really matter if you were a kid, if you were a man, if you were a woman, like basically anybody was fair game. So, I was born basically during that time. And actually in the place that I was born, it was like a 1-bedroom apartment where I think like 7 people were living at the time, 8 people were living at the time. And we actually didn't have power. So what they did was, and my mom didn't have any medicine during the delivery. So I was like 8.5 pounds, 9 pounds. And my head is humongous. She had to do that with no medicine and with no power. So they had to literally take a car battery out of a car, connect it to light bulbs, and manufacture some kind of light, some kind of warmth and heat, and I was born during that. And basically, ever since then, it was just tough, for my mom, for my dad. So in the months that I was born, or prior to that, my dad was actually captured in the southern part of Bosnia where we lived before in Mostar. And he was captured and he was in a concentration camp for about 2.5 months.
Wow.
So in the concentration camp, he was, beaten, he was brutalized, all kinds of stuff. And he was actually shoeless during the time. So, and it was snowing during that part of the winter. And he eventually ended up getting gangrene and losing a few of his toes. So his toes became like black and necrotic. So he had to cut them off on his own.
Wow.
He cut off his own toes during the time he was in there because it could spread to his leg and he could lose his legs.
Right.
So like the early years were, rough. And we actually ended up losing our house. Our house was destroyed. And basically I was a few years old and about 3-4 years old when that happened. So we didn't have really nothing. So a lot of people were trying to escape, before the war, and we weren't as lucky because we couldn't get our stuff approved. So basically around the time like I was like 7.5, 8 years old, we had gotten a visa approved basically through a lottery, like a 1 in 10,000 lottery. So we just got fortunate enough to be selected and be able to come here. And that wasn't easy either. That wasn't no lottery by any means. I mean, it is a lottery to be able to come here and, live and work here. But, we came and with a family of 4 and my dad was disabled. We had about $200, $300, and like a 1980 Mazda that somebody gave to us with like 300,000 miles.
Wow.
So the early years when I was here, I was in like 3rd grade, 4th grade. And no English, like absolutely zero English. I spoke not one word of English. So we lived about 2 miles from the school I went to. I had to walk a mile and then catch a bus going to the other one as a 8.5-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid, because my mom was working 70 hours a week just to be able to pay the rent. So I had to walk as a 9-year-old kid in a foreign country that I've never been to, city bus, not a school bus. So we didn't have a school bus that went around the area we were in because we were almost like out of district because we couldn't afford the area the school was in. So I was like 8.5 years old, me and my brother, which was like 17, 16 at the time, walking to the bus, a mile every day and walking home. And my mom was working, 70 hours a week. So from that point it was very difficult. But I think that's kind of like our story, it was just like perseverance. I think a lot of like Bosnian people that came here and even during that war, people really, I don't know if it's something in our blood or something in our, I don't know if, like they say, the man makes the circumstance, or the circumstance makes the man. I just think that, tough time, I guess, I don't know, maybe force people to come together and really strive and persevere. So, I mean, that kind of led through all of that hard work and time. My mom did a great job of taking care of us, put me through high school, and I ended up coming back from vacation. I came back from Bosnia from vacation like my sophomore year of high school, and the football team just asked me to play like American football. So I really, again, didn't really play, didn't really have any interest, but I was a decent athlete. So they asked me to play and I was like, sure, why not? Found out I was pretty decent. Senior year, I had some offers, but I couldn't I didn't get the offers in time. So I had to go to junior college. Ended up going to junior college and I got a scholarship my first year. So I had a full ride scholarship to a Division II in Kansas, which was Fort Hays.
Fort Hays?
So I went there and then basically I played football there. Things really didn't work out there. I really didn't like the town or just kind of like the whole situation. And then I eventually got to go to Benedictine College where I met, our branch manager, Christian. So we went to school together, played on the football team together. And then, I guess that's kind of like my lead in and how I got into the industry because, he was obviously there and he was kind of telling me about it. But I knew a lot of people that were talking about it, even when we were in Bosnia, telling us about like the money they were making in trucking, even during the 90s, the early 2000s, and really how it was such a good industry where even if you didn't speak an ounce of English, you can just come in right away and figure something out, contribute, make some money for yourself, and really, have some stability. So that kind of led into that. And I was always kind of interested in that kind of field. So I'd always prepared myself for that because the previous 2 years before I was in Aero, I was working at UPS as an operations manager in the warehouse. So that was actually like in the location. And then the year before that, or the year after that, the year before I came here, I was working at FedEx as an inside sales person. I was working with, medium, large, small size accounts, just driving, shipping, and doing things of that nature. So I guess I don't know, I kind of gravitated towards it anyway. And then I figured I don't know, I just figured like maybe it was a good time for a career switch. And, this is something that I've known about since I was a kid. And, people had always talked about in our circles. And we knew all kinds of drivers when we were kids. And I just figured, with my language and being that there was nobody who speaks my language west of Chicago, I thought it was maybe a good idea. So.
Yeah, no, it's Bosnia. There seems like to be a strong Bosnian market out there in the Chicago area. So you're a little bit farther west of that. But I kind of want to do something a little different here. I want to give you 60 seconds to maybe just kind of give a quick version of your story and how you got into the trucking industry at this point in your native language. So if you want to just, give us a quick speech there, just to kind of speak to some people in their language. So go ahead.
Okay, sure. So from the beginning or just the trucking part?
You just, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with. You just, you got 60 seconds here roughly. Just give us a little bit of how your background getting here to the US, the trucking industry, whatever you want.
Halo ljudi, moj ime je Edin Kovac, ja ovdje radim u Phoenix u Aero Truck Sales, imam ovdje 15 mjeseci što radim ovdje i Ništa, ja sam došao u ovaj industriju zbog naših jezika, zbog dosta naših ljudi što radi u ovaj industriju i vidio sam veliki priliku da nađem dobru kompaniju i znaš i radim ovdje kao pošten radnik i ja radim u svakoj državi, bilo koji, ja prodajem ljudima u Chicago, u St. Louis, u Las Vegas, Phoenix, bilo koji. Rođen sam u Bosni, ali znaš, pričam ja svaki jezik naš i znam razlike i to. Ako vi hoćete zvat mene, kontaktirat mene, moj kontakt će biti u deskripciju ovaj video i slobodno me zove.
Awesome. Okay, so we always ask this question to everybody that comes in on this. What in your mind makes a successful truck driver?
I think, it's 50-50, but I would say 50 is, kind of prudence, intelligence. So you got to really know what you're doing and you got to do things before they're due. So that I think applies in everything. So not waiting for an issue to become big, not waiting for the last second to take on some responsibility. So if you have some project or some equipment you need to buy or some kind of deadline you need to meet, kind of doing it before the fact and not waiting till the very last minute and then rushing and maybe making a rash decision. Mm-hmm. Second, I would say just again is like perseverance. So everybody, will face issues and there's no driver out there, there's no company out there that's not going to have an issue one way or another with a truck, a load, an accident, a insurance issue, claims. Everybody's going to have those kind of issues, but I think the people who stay at the top and do well are the people who just realize it's a part of it and it's the nature of the business. And they see that really it's, there's no way to avoid it. And really you just have to tackle it head on. And like I said, the whole prudent thing, you can solve a lot of those problems for yourself if you do it in the correct way with the right information.
That's great. All right. So how do you help truck drivers find success? What's your role in the truck driver story?
Sure. So whenever I sell a truck to anybody, so if it's somebody from my country, from, neighboring countries, Americans, really anybody, Mexicans, the main thing that I do is I leave myself as a point of contact. So let's say they're starting out. Maybe they don't know any people for insurance. Maybe they don't have companies for like a haul source, or maybe they don't have a solid like work contract. So with a lot of the people that I work with, there are a lot of medium to upper, bigger size fleets. So they obviously do always have room for owner operators. So I use a lot of those contacts to give to my other drivers that maybe don't have those opportunities already set up. And obviously insurance is a big thing when you're starting out because you can get some really bad quotes if you don't know what you're doing. So I think laying that groundwork and then just kind of letting them know like, basically whatever I can help, I'll help out on. So, whatever resources I can give them or whatever peace of mind I can give them, I give them. So whether that's warranty service, how to follow up with repairs, how to, file their claims, how to do things like that. Most of the time I'll do the first one for the customer and just kind of walk them through it if need be, obviously. So things like that, wherever really I can help, whatever things that I could, whatever resources I can offer them, I offer them. So whether they ask or not, like I really think that's important.
Well, that's great, man. At Arrow, we've adopted a motto here the last couple of years: clear, simple, used truck buying.
Right.
And what does clear, simple, used truck buying mean to you?
I just think it's like our process. Things are just very streamlined and quick, and being able to DocuSign somebody for $50,000 to $1 million worth of equipment, all within 30 minutes, and being able to approve funding really quickly and secure funding really quickly. Obviously, transport funding helps out on that front, but that whole process, just seeing how quickly it goes, and obviously how long it can drag out with some other banks or some other resources that aren't really as up to speed or don't have their process really like ironed out. You can really see how long that can take. So I think things like that, the warranties, the Confidence Plus warranty, our NTP warranties, everything's just very, black and white. It's very obvious. Everything's kind of on paper. So you really know what to expect, what you can look at. So there's really no ambiguity. Obviously, there's questions after the fact for sure, but people, I think, more or less understand exactly what it's going to be. And they know with a company of our size that, kind of what you see is what you get, basically.
All right. And I want you to kind of just speak in Bosnian to potential customers that might want to work with you. Why should they work with you? How they can get in contact with you. Feel free to just kind of post that right now, right here.
Okay. Ja, mislim da sam ja jako pošten radnik. Ja cijenujem poštovanje i iskrenost. Ja volim da budem iskren. Ja volim da sam vas dao kontakt s ljudima. Ako vi ikad imate probleme, u pitanje za kamione, izvolite, molim te, nazovi me, pošalji mi poruku, moj broj ću ja staviti na kraju, moj mobitel broj je 623-282-5377, email mi je ekovac@aerotruck.com i ako vi imate probleme, vi imate ikakav pitanje da kupite kamion, prikolice, za neke informacije, ti samo meni slobodno šalji.
Well, that's another episode of the Successful Driver podcast. Thank you so much, Edin, for spending a little bit of time with us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ken.
Be sure to be checking us out on our podcast channel, YouTube, Facebook. We are around wherever you can find us. Thank you again for listening, watching to the Successful Driver podcast. We'll catch you later.